Welcome back to another episode of Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul. This is the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan LoPresti, and today I am so excited to introduce you to Dr. Sangeeta Pati. Dr. Pati is a board-certified OB/GYN and an integrative medicine physician with over 30 years of experience in conventional and regenerative care, and is also the founder of MD Prescriptives and the SaJune Institute for Restorative and Regenerative Medicine. As a pioneer in integrative and regenerative medicine, she transforms health challenges into opportunities for wellness using principles from long living cultures. Dr. Pati's multicultural journey and her deep expertise could offer you a very fresh insight into holistic health approaches. Inspired by her global work in maternal health and personal healing journey, Dr. Pati developed a comprehensive 5-point model system focused on 5 key dimensions of health: optimizing hormones, nutrition, detoxification, mind-heart balance, and the physical body. Her approach, drawing on the wisdom of the Blue Zone health habits, has helped thousands of patients reverse chronic conditions and reclaim wellness. A passionate educator, she has trained over 5,000 healthcare professionals and spoken at more than 100 leading medical conferences. Dr. Pati is dedicated to empowering both patients and practitioners with effective natural tools to activate the body's innate ability to heal. Dr. Pati's line of supplements, MD Prescriptives, offers scientifically validated clinical proven products built on her 5-point model system. Each formula is non-GMO, highly absorbable, third-party tested, and designed to optimize health, regeneration, and well-being. In an industry inundated with supplements stuffed with hidden fillers and cheap additives, MD Prescriptives boast the most bioavailable forms at therapeutic doses, all at a reasonable price. So without further ado, Dr. Pati, welcome to my podcast. I am so excited. I couldn't wait for this day to come. I'm so excited to have our conversation today.
Thank you, Susan. I really appreciate the opportunity myself.
You're very welcome. So I wanted to talk health-wise for a midlife woman. What are some of the major challenges that you see when someone comes to you for the first time? She's in midlife and she's struggling. What do you see as the majority of the problems there?
Well, there's a lot of them. And I think it's something that is being recognized more in society, even beyond the patients that I've seen. And it really starts with the fact that people in midlife are hitting a whole bunch of different symptoms that really started decades ago. So things like aches and pains, abnormal periods, lower sex drive, change in hair, change in skin, change in mental clarity. And they really started decades ago, and they're hitting us at this point. The challenge there is that these people are often told that's normal aging. And if you look around the world, you'll see that there's plenty of places around the world where people don't really hit those kind of symptoms because life is more balanced and they start with better daily habits. So we're kind of in a depleted state by the time we get to midlife. And at that point, we're hitting these kind of symptoms. The other thing, aside from being told we're normal, is that we're given Band-Aid solutions. So here, take this Advil or Xanax or Prozac or get on the oral contraceptive tablet, which I've seen so many women in their mid 40s either end up on one of those or end up with a hysterectomy. And I'm a gynecologist. I used to do a lot of hysterectomies in that age group. So what happens to these people is that we are looking for natural solutions. It happens to be innate wisdom that's in each of us, that there must be something outside of just this pharmacy and surgery approach that we're being given. And when we start searching for them on Dr. Google, we have a whole bunch of different chaos and confusion. And if we pursue a naturopathic or a healthcare practitioner who can help us with this journey, it really isn't about empowerment because it's very costly. And you have to keep going and keep engaging in a costly thing where, so I think that, people really hit a spot where we're either can accept it's normal or take a pharmaceutical drug.
Yeah. When you said that you're told that it's perfectly normal for a woman your age to be feeling that way, that's exactly what happened to me in my mid 40s. I was going through chaos of stuff, aches and pains, frozen shoulder, couldn't lift my arms above my head, bloating. I would wake up in the morning with a very flat stomach, which I always had a flat stomach. By the end of the day, I looked 6 months pregnant and I couldn't understand what was going on. And I would go to conventional doctors, and that's what I was being told. It's perfectly normal for a woman your age to be experiencing this. That is not the answer I'm looking for because I saw my mom, who was 25 years older than me. I never saw her experience any of this. And it wasn't until I started doing research and found a functional medicine doctor who really changed my life around for me. I don't know where I would be if I hadn't gone in that direction.
And that's the story that I got of, over the years, just in thousands of people that have found us when, they need to have a healthcare practitioner. But if you look at the science around the world, you find that there are many cultures like Japanese, Koreans, parts of the Yucatan in Mexico, and also many of the blue zones, which I happen to live in a blue zone in Nicoya, Costa Rica, where people don't experience that extreme set of symptoms because life was more balanced to begin with, and they were less depleted at the time that midlife came. So when you describe your mother, my guess is that she was like had a much more full fuel tank, if you will, and wasn't quite so depleted and didn't necessarily have a nervous system that was like burning through stuff and making the organs not protected, right?
I also think that in my mom's case, she grew up before the processed foods
Mm-hmm.
started coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and we're Italian. And so my grandmother probably cooked very healthy foods, and there was no bag or box or can at that time. And I think
Yes,
that may have had a lot to do with it. Plus,
a
she had
lot.
less stress in her life.
Yeah, a lot to do with it because if you look, like the USDA reports that we have a 50% depletion in our soil nutrients over the
Yeah.
last 50 years. And the calculation from University of Texas is that you have to eat 8 oranges today to get what you would have gotten 1 orange. So we're not eating 8 oranges.
No.
So we're depleted by generation much more so than before. And also when you are in Italy, you're not processing the grains and removing the bran and the fiber like we do in the
Right.
pastas we have now.
Right. So where do you start with the woman who comes in and she's experiencing all of these symptoms. Maybe anxiety could be one of them, bloat and overweight. What's your protocol usually for
Well,
someone like that?
the very first thing I like to do is to make sure that people realize that they are not going to have those symptoms if they don't want them, that they have the power to take back that ability to turn on innate self-healing. And I say it with confidence because after 15,000 patients and having a chance to, and the blessing of being able to participate in their care, I've been able to see that people can really take their power back and get rid of all those things. So the first thing is hope. And I feel that that's the most powerful healing that can happen, is just to have hope. And then the second part is just to find out how long ago these things began. Because, for example, anxiety. In our society, we are so significantly depleted that I'm finding women in their teens and early 20s that are having panic attacks and anxiety and depression. And it really is because their progesterone and magnesium are very depleted. And when you correct it, it goes away. So letting them know that there are simple things, including things like simplifying life, including things like learning how to breathe, not just take a magnesium, take a progesterone, but simpler things that have empowered thousands of women to be in the driver's seat for their own health. That right there starts them off on the right foot. Then the second thing we do, of course, is we look at labs and we try to correspond the entire hormonal and nutritional axis. So not just hormones, not just ovarian hormones, but adrenal, thyroid, ovaries. So I always like to look at the hormones like a pyramid where the base is adrenals.
Yeah.
If the adrenals are off, the thyroid is automatically off. That's where the weight gain and the hair loss and everything come from. And if that's off, automatically, when the ovaries stop working, which is the tip of the iceberg, we end up having a lot more symptoms and diseases than we would have had if the adrenal thyroid axis was strong. So we look at that entire axis and all of the nutrients that support it, because every hormone, like a thyroid hormone, needs iodine, selenium, zinc, certain quantities to activate at the receptor site. So, and then the second thing we do is never look at the normal range. The normal range goes all the way from the 10th percentile to the 90th percentile. It's a super wide range, and you feel way better when you're in the 75th percentile and above. So you could have a progesterone of 0 and it's still in the normal range.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
It's pretty pathetic, right? Like people are
Yes.
like, okay, I'm tired. I have brain fog. I have low mental clarity. I'm depressed. I'm gaining unexplained weight gain. Oh, I have drier hair, drier skin, colder hands, colder feet, constipation, hair loss. Oh, but your thyroid's in the normal range. And you walk out like, right, it's in the normal range, but is it in the optimal range? And it's
Yes.
always where the answer is, because our ranges are so wide, it doesn't even make any sense, right?
Yes. Basically, you're talking about who I was in my 40s because I have Hashimoto's disease, which I didn't know, and nobody was telling me that because my numbers were in the normal range. I have celiac disease. Nobody looked at that.
Well,
So,
you may know that Hashimoto's is basically just antibodies forming to the thyroid, which happens when the gut lining has a little leak in it. So as soon as you seal the lining, both celiac and Hashimoto's go away.
wow.
It's
I'm
all connected.
Yeah, I'm 100% gluten free. I don't touch gluten at all, but I'm still on thyroid medication, so that's interesting.
Yes. Well, especially because the gluten in the United States is, I mean, it's sprayed wheat. And
Yes,
most people who go to like Italy who have gluten allergy will tell you that they're fine
I've
in a
heard
different
that.
country that doesn't spray the wheat at the end. So it's the great thing about all this information is that we're aware enough now to start taking a stand on these things. And that's what's happening. That's what I see. Women are taking their power back, men are taking their power. We're all interested in that, right? Because when you said you were that woman at age 40, I
Yes.
was that woman at age 35.
Wow.
So it was a very personal journey to, sort of like take with my patients, you
Yes.
know?
Yes, it's very scary also because we're still young at that age and it's like what's going on? Why is it that in the morning my hands are numb? I would have no feeling in my hands and I couldn't reach into the cupboard to get a cup of coffee because my arms would only go out that far. I was achy all over and I was being told that it was normal.
Some amount of normal, but the great news is that you're here telling this story and
Yes.
empowering a lot of people to look for answers, to look at other opportunities, look at different things. Everything isn't for everyone,
Right.
but when you expand the toolbox of options beyond pharmacy and surgery, you realize that something in that toolbox will resonate with you. And it's not that everything in that tool, but it's something like
Something.
something, give me a larger set of options. And I really learned that lesson very, very well when I started working abroad with a nonprofit agency in the Safe Motherhood Project. And I started working with these traditional birth attendants, and I was supposed to go to teach them stuff. And boy, did I come back with a big lesson because they were in those mountains. There was no road, there was no medical center. The results were great. And they were using a much more expanded toolbox of options because they didn't have pharmacy and surgery.
Right.
So that's kind of when I came back and sort of quit the practice of the regular things that I was taught and realized that I just have to really go back to school. And I was really lucky because I had some really deadly diseases and it allowed me to explore.
So, Dr. Patty, tell us about the 5-point model system.
Okay. I love talking about the 5-point model system because it really does empower people. So, as a gynecologist, when I get off on this journey of, okay, I'm going to look for a root cause approach, when I came back from Safe Motherhood Project, I started in the area of hormones because I'm an OBGYN. It makes sense. I'm going to start learning about hormones. And besides that, Suzanne Summers had written that great book.
Yeah.
And we were a 5-women practice, and everybody's like, oh my God, Suzanne Summers is teaching hormones after this terrible study that showed all these terrible things about hormones. And so I was like, somebody has to read this. So I read it
I did
and I
too.
stepped into bioidentical hormones and started to learn them very significantly, and even started to be, I was a faculty on teaching them at A4M. So I started that early, like 2005. And very soon after that, I realized that it was such a small part of the picture, like not only the sex hormones, but you remember I talked about the thyroid and the adrenal. So that's the hormones. But then you needed specific nutrients, certain amount of chromium, certain amount of zinc, certain amount of selenium. And I started to realize that the nutrition activated the hormones. And then the next part of that 5 areas was detoxification. And it could be just as simple as drinking what I'm drinking, which is lemon salt water. Like just that starts to detox the body.
Lemon
Um,
salt water, is that what you said?
yes, yes. Pink salt and lemon. It's really literally one of the most powerful things we can do because in modern life we lose fluids and minerals. And I've had people drink lemon salt water in the morning and add that to their routine and say, oh my gosh, I'm already feeling better
Wow.
because
I
we're
have to do that.
70% water. And then I do the extra step, of course, which is I bless the water with my intention. And today the intention was to share things that would help and empower women and men to take this journey in midlife. So that's the third area, detoxification. And of course, there's many layers to that, but that was the simple one. And the fourth one is the breathing pattern because our subconscious and conscious are linked by breath. And we are breathing rather shallow, and we can literally control almost every condition with the way that we inhale and exhale
Wow.
because it controls the nervous system. And the fifth area is called the heart mind, because the heart really is what's driving the mind, according to all the data from the Heart Math Institute.
Yeah.
And that has to do with the commitments we have, the stress response that we're allowing ourselves to have, not how much stress we have, but what our response to it is, which we have full control over, right? And it has to do with joyful purpose and connection to people. So using these 5 areas, we would optimize each area. And notice I didn't say normalize, I said optimize, like to the 75th percentile. And over a period of 18 years, we found in 12,000 patients, 85% reversal of things like fatigue, sleep issues, mood, anxiety, gastric, pain, and a whole host of diseases, because these are basic. These 5 areas are not rocket science at all. They're basic areas that anybody would have guessed. And when you utilize the whole thing, you really have empowerment. And not every one of the patients does all of it. As I said, they do the things that resonate with them. And I think that's where the power comes from. Because if a doctor hands you, oh, do this 10 things, oh, you didn't do all 10, that system's not going to work. The system works as long as you pick something that resonates. And I always ask people in a visit, pick one thing, just one thing, because our daily habits are so out of sync with nature that putting even one habit in becomes a very big mountain sometimes. So the 5 areas were really powerful, but then I had another blessing. I got totally burnt out. I was training physicians in these 5 areas. I trained thousands of them in hormones and various things. And I realized that the program was very much for people who had money. And it was bothering me because I was like, when people brought their kids in for the program, like women always bring their men in. And then when they're both in, they want to bring their kids. And you're like, oh my God, our price points are ridiculous. So that sat with me until I burnt out totally. I was like flat in a bed. And I came to Costa Rica, where I am right now in the mountains. And I started to understand that connection to nature and connection to tribe and joyful purpose is the seat of human empowerment, that's gifts that are accessible and free to all. So I ended up adding the 5 elements to the 5-point model, which is wake up in the morning and look at the sun, cortisol awakening response. Ground yourself into the earth, let your blood unclot and the charge of the house go out of your body. Breathe consciously, right? So water, structure your water and live in the vibration of joy connected to people. Wow. And actually, if you look at Harvard's latest studies, they actually published, they were looking at what connects to longevity. And they looked at diet and exercise and all these things, and they all were good. But the most powerful connection to longevity was social connections. Isolation is worse than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 20 years. So social isolation is something that we all sort of have, even with the way we're living. So it's really, they're so simple things. Like if we just integrate those into our habits as a culture, we're going to have a different outcome. Because obviously we know that as a country, we're having the biggest crisis in health, and we spend the most out of many countries. And you look at the other countries like, Germany, Denmark, New Zealand, and you're like, well, what are they doing that's so much lower in cost and has such better life expectancy and health indices? So it's the simple things. So when I added those 5 elements, I could hit the kids, because now I have a program that's protocoled and hits the kids. Mm-hmm. So they're able to do it. I've had a lot of youth and younger people who have gotten off of a lot of medications. And it seems that with the nervous system where it is, we always have to use magnesium. We always have to use some few things because we're not getting enough. Right. When I measured thousands of nutritional tests, I saw that. So magnesium ends up being really important, and especially fat-soluble magnesium.
And where would you source that from, fat-soluble magnesium?
So that was a journey that I took because when I started measuring nutrition, I did thousands of tests and I was like, oh, everybody needs like a certain amount of magnesium and 25 to 50 of zinc and 200 of selenium for the thyroid and so on and so forth. And I added that to the hormonal regimen, and people were going home with 5 bottles of stuff. And one of the things that I realized in my life is that I'm always looking for that one drop that
Mhm.
creates a ripple rather than you take 5 things. Why don't you just do one thing, right?
Yeah.
And the field of functional medicine is very complicated that way. You go in, there's many tests, there's many supplements. And so when I went and started watching my patients taking all these supplements, and also they had a bunch of junk in them, preservatives, dyes, fillers, stearates. I shopped around for someone to make the right thing. And I finally realized that I could just make it on my own. And I'm a doctor, didn't really have any business necessarily opening up a supplement company, but I did. I ended up making the first supplement, which was a vitamin. And I found that if I took all the junk out, they didn't have to use 5 bottles, they used 1 bottle. And then the second, and that's called Essentials Multi. And most of my patients still take it today because it has everything in it. It's still the most powerful multi on the market. It comes in glass bottle. I always bless them. And that's really important. Our whole team actually blesses the supplement batch as they come in. And then magnesium, lipid soluble magnesium. I tried many different forms and I found one called acetyltaurinate in Belgium. And we were the first people to bring it in because it has a powerful effect on the nervous system. And I have watched people reverse tremors, headaches, migraines, restless leg. I have watched people reverse so many nervous system conditions just with the right amount of magnesium.
Wow, that's
So, yeah.
incredible. That's incredible. So we could purchase them online, your products?
Yes, yeah, it's mdprescriptives.com, and there's some guidance and different protocols that are available on there, but you can purchase the magnesium. It's called magnesium acetyltaurinate with glycinate and oxide for the bowels. And it really is like one of those things that most people tell me when they run out of that. We've run out a couple times during COVID. We couldn't source it. And it's like, oh, where is it? But all my family and friends, one of the things you always want to do when you're in healthcare and you're making recommendations is make sure that you're willing to do those things.
Yes.
And you're willing to recommend these things to your closest family and your mother and your father and your sisters and brothers. And so that's what's happened. And I know that, it's really a service that's worth continuing because the supplement industry has become a little nutty. It's like extremely corporate, big, and a lot of people are getting in the space, and there's very few people where you actually are, there's some intention behind it. And it's, we're basically a small company, but we have a lot of intention and a lot of like attention to what's going to be the best thing in the product. So, yeah.
The next thing I want to talk to you about is the blue zones.
Yes.
So you live in one.
Yes, I live in Nicoya, Costa Rica. I am currently looking at the mountains in Nicoya, Costa Rica.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I've heard
Yes.
so many wonderful things about Costa Rica. I haven't been there yet, but I want to go.
You must. You
Yes.
must come and visit me
Okay. I
here in
will.
Nicoya.
So tell us what is different about the blue zones and the areas that you're
Yes,
in.
it's close to my heart. So, I told you that I had the blessing of burning out and coming to Costa Rica,
Yes.
and somehow I had a connection here. And I had read about blue zones and diet and exercise and all these things. And I was like, how is it that these people are really living productive, fit, free of chronic disease, free of the use of the medical system into their hundreds? And really in joyful purpose, what we call ikigai in Japanese. It's like one
Yes.
term that has gotten more well known. And I had read about it's this specific diet or it's this specific thing. And it turns out that it has much more to do with the way of life that starts from young. And it's a way of life that all of us actually had. It was much simpler, much more connected, much more in tune with the natural cycles of the earth. So, and to really make a point of that, like when you go to the diet, like you look at Nicoya, Costa Rica, and people are eating seasonally squash, corn, beans, and you look at Icaria, Greece, which is another one of the blue zones, and people are eating Mediterranean diet, beans, olive oil, grains. So it has a lot to do with being easy about diet. What's seasonal, what's available. There isn't a whole lot of attention to it. It's just a way of life that is much more flowing and really connected to tribe and connected to nature, connected to the five elements, the sun, the earth, the water, the oxygenation, and the joy. And I find that that's the core. It's not one specific thing or one other thing. It really is the core. And it's a reminder to us that this is actually where we started as a human race. We were, automatically connected, automatically eating the things, that were seasonal and that were available. We didn't put some big attention to, I have to get this much protein and that much this and
Right.
that much that. That is a stressor that activates the sympathetic nervous system and deactivates the parasympathetic or the vagus nerve, which is our repair and rest and digest nervous system. And that, I think, is the fundamental issue in modern life, which is sometimes I call it man's greatest disease, because we're living in a state where the sympathetic chronic stress response is outpacing and suppressing the vagus nerve activity, which is rest, digest, and repair all the mutations that occur.
Yeah.
And it's because of the commitments. It's because one more thing and one more thing and one more thing. And I find that to be the core element. If people do nothing else but just shift their life by reducing the number of commitments, it automatically saves their fuel tank and starts to, really like save their organs, save them from chronic
Regenerate in a
disease.
way, right?
Yeah.
Regenerate themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
regenerate. And it has to do with the joy in our hearts. Like it's activation of joy. It's like unrelentingly letting go of anything that does not serve you and your
Yeah.
purpose.
Yes. It's not always that easy to do, right?
Not when we have already been programmed in a
Yeah.
certain way. Like we have cultural habits that, really as a human race, we know we're at a turning point. And part of that turning point is to really look at the preservation of self. Because I always tell people, like, and Heart Math Institute data actually supports this, but if you think of yourself as the sun and you tend to your own fire, you automatically warm the planets around you.
Wow.
And so it's the most unselfish thing that we can do is to really preserve, protect ourselves.
I love
And
that.
it's contagious.
Yes. I feel so relaxed just speaking to you or listening to you speak, I should say, because I live in New York and it's crazy. It's hectic, it's crazy, it's fast paced, and I don't have too much nature around me, but I absolutely love being in nature. And if I take a ride upstate on the weekends into the mountains, I feel completely different. I just totally decompress and I feel connected with the energy in upstate New York in the mountains and, in the woods. I love it. I need to
Oh,
move.
well, we sometimes refer to like being in nature, and then when you realize that our genes are shared, we are nature. And the
Yes.
separation from it has separated us from even connection to human beings. If you look at the science of the Heart Math Institute, they show literally that we carry a frequency bubble around our heart that interacts with the trees and interacts with the earth and the Schumann waves and the other people. So I could be sitting in a room and affecting somebody 20 feet away because my electromagnetic torus of my emotions actually reaches that far. And if you look at quantum physics, it reaches even much further to the ends
Yes.
of the universe. So when there's chaos in the world, even if it's far from us, it's still affecting us because it comes through people and planet. And we are nature. So when we put ourselves in nature, we're literally like reconnecting our nervous system. We are charging our nervous system. The science shows it. It shows all the chemicals that we absorb from the trees that cure the immune system. I've always said if I ever get anything crazy in my life, health-wise, my next step is going to be to get myself in the soil, in the forest, and just stay there until I'm well. Because I have a lot of faith in the power of nature, source, and myself. You have to
Yes.
have like a lot of confidence and trust in your own decisions and not second guess them from here, you know?
Yeah. I think you're already taking all the right steps to stay healthy and live a long, productive life. That's the way I feel when listening to you. You're definitely on the right path. Do you
Mhm.
have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave my listeners with?
Sure. So, the most powerful thing I think anybody can do is to relook at their life, pause, and think about how one can simplify it down to the most important you. And we even have, I'll show you this little thing, which is this circle, and I call it the golden circle that you're in the middle.
Okay.
And secondary and tertiary priorities are out on the, and it's such a simple exercise, but everybody who does it, I don't know if you could see it
I
actually,
do see it. Yes.
says that it's one of the most life-changing things because when, and I try to do this more than once, where secondary and tertiary priorities, I remember it's like when I get an invite, oh, that's, I'm not going to say yes because I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on getting myself golden because I'm able to make a different service to humanity doing that. And then the second thing is because we live in this kind of situation, is to really, if you're going to take a supplement, take magnesium and choose the acetyltaurinate because that's going to help you. You know, you're living in New York City, so you're going to automatically, no matter how much simplifying you do, you're automatically going to be receiving some amount of nervous system stimulation that maybe you don't want. And
Mm-hmm.
the best protection against that is, it sounds silly because I never thought I was going to say, oh, there's this one supplement that's actually going to make a big difference. But it has flipped so many people around that I can tell you that that is one
Wow.
supplement that can
That's
make a difference.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so
So
much.
simplify life
Yes. Yes.
and
I believe
trust
that
your
to
heart.
be. Yes. Thank you so much. Dr. Patty, it was such a pleasure having this conversation with you. I want you to come back again and share more
Thank you.
information
Thank you.
because I could talk to you forever, really.
Yes, and I love the fact that you gave me the opportunity. It's really an honor to
My
be
pleasure.
invited. Yes.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much.